Hans Christian Andersen, The Tinder Box. A soldier came marching along the road, left, right. He had his knapsack on his back and a sword at his side, because he had been off to war, and now he was on his way home. Then he met an old witch on the road. She was so hideous. Her lower lip hung all the way down to her breast. She said, "Good evening, soldier. What a nice sword and big knapsack you have. You must be a real soldier. Now you shall have all the money you could ask for." "Well, thanks a lot, you old witch," said the soldier. "Do you see that big tree?" said the witch, pointing at a tree right next to them. "It's completely hollow inside. Climb up to the top and you'll find a hole that you can slip into and slide all the way down inside the tree. I'll tie a rope around your waist so I can hoist you back up when you call me." "Why would I go inside that tree?" asked the soldier. "To get the money," said the witch. "You see, when you reach the bottom of the tree, you'll be in a huge passageway that's very bright because it's lit by more than 100 lamps. Then you'll see 3 doors and you'll be able to open them because the keys are in the locks. If you go inside the first chamber, you'll see a big chest in the middle of the room, and on top of it sits a dog. He has eyes as big as a pair of teacups, but never mind that. I'll give you my blue checked apron that you can spread on the floor. Go right over and pick up the dog and set him on my apron. Then open the chest and take as many skillings as you like. They're all made of copper, but if you'd rather have silver, then go into the next room. In there is a dog with eyes as big as a pair of mill wheels, but never mind that. Set him on my apron and take the money. But if it's gold you want, you can have that too, and as much as you can carry if you go into the third chamber. But the dog sitting on the money chest has 2 eyes that are each as big as the round tower. Now that's a real dog, believe me. But never you mind. Just set him on my apron and he won't harm you. Then take from the chest as much gold as you like." "Not bad," said the soldier. "But what do I have to give you in return, you old witch? Because I imagine there must be something you want." "No," said the witch. "I don't want a single skilling. All you have to do bring me is an old tinder box that my grandmother left behind when she was down there last." "Fine, then let's have that rope around my waist," said the soldier. "Here it is," said the witch. "And here is my blue checked apron." So the soldier climbed up the tree, tumbled down the hole, and then, just as the witch had said, he stood inside a huge passageway where hundreds of lamps were burning. He opened the first door. Oh, there sat the dog with eyes as big as teacups, staring at him. "You're a handsome fellow," said the soldier, and set him on the witch's apron. Then he took as many copper shillings as his pockets would hold, closed the chest, put the dog back, and went into the second room. Eek! There sat the dog with eyes as big as mere wheels. You shouldn't look at me so hard, said the soldier. You might hurt your eyes. And then he set the dog on the witch's apron. But when he saw all the silver coins inside the chest, he threw away the copper coins he was carrying and filled his pocket and his knapsack with nothing but silver. Next, he went into the third chamber. Oh, how hideous! The dog in there really did have eyes as big as round towers, and they were spinning around in his head like wheels. Good evening, said the soldier, and doffed his cap, for he had never seen a dog like that before. But after he'd looked at him for a while, he thought to himself, all right, that's enough. And he lifted him onto the floor, opened the chest. Good Lord, there was a lot of gold, enough to buy all of Copenhagen, and every single super pig sold by the cake wives, and all the tin soldiers' whips and rocking horses in the whole world. Yes, there was certainly plenty of money. So the soldier threw away all the silver coins that filled his pockets and knapsack and took the gold instead. Yes, all his pockets, his knapsack, his cap, and his boots were so full that he could hardly walk. Now he had money. He put the dog back on the chest, slammed the door shut, and called up through the tree. Hoist me up now, you old witch. Do you have the tinder box? Asked the witch. Oh, that's right, said the soldier. I forgot all about it. And he went over and picked it up. The witch hoisted him up, and he once again stood on the road with his pockets, boots, knapsack, and cap full of money. What do you want the tinder box for? Asked the soldier. That's none of your business, said the witch. You've got the money. Now just give me the tinder box. Pish posh, said the soldier. Tell me right now what you want it for. I'll put out my sword and chop off your head. No, said the witch. So the soldier chopped off her head. There she lay. But he wrapped up all his money in her apron, slung it in a bundle over his shoulder, stuffed the tinder box in his pocket, and headed straight for the city. It was a lovely city, and he went inside the loveliest of inns and demanded the very best rooms and his favorite food, because now he had so much money that he was rich. The servant who was supposed to polish his boots thought they were rather strange old boots for such a rich gentleman to be wearing, but he hadn't yet bought himself new ones. By the next day, he had a good pair of boots and fine clothes to wear. The soldier was now a distinguished gentleman, and the people told him about all the splendid things to be found in their city, and about their king, and what a charming princess his daughter was. Where might I catch a glimpse of her? Asked the soldier. It's impossible to catch a glimpse of her, they all said. She lives in an enormous copper palace, surrounded by dozens of walls and towers. No one but the king dares visit her, because it was foretold that she would marry a simple soldier, and that certainly did not please the king. She's someone I'd like to see, thought the soldier, but that wasn't possible. He was now leading a merry life, going to the theater, taking drives in the king's gardens, and giving away a great deal of money to the poor, which was a very nice gesture. No doubt he remembered from the old days how miserable it was not to have even a skilling. He was now rich and wore fine clothes and had so many friends who all said that he was a pleasant fellow, a real gentleman, and that it certainly pleased the soldier. But since he was spending money each day and not taking any in, he finally had no more than 2 skillings left and had to move out of the beautiful rooms where he had been living and into a tiny little garret room right under the roof. He had to brush his own boots and mend them with a darning needle, and none of his friends came to see him because there were too many stairs to climb. It was a very dark evening, and he couldn't even afford to buy a candle. But then he remembered there was a little stump of one in the tinder box he had taken from the hollow tree when the witch had helped him inside. He took out the tinder box and the candle stump, but the minute he struck fire and sparks leaped from the flint, the door flew open, and the dog that he had seen inside the tree, the one with eyes as big as 2 teacups, stood before him and said, "What is my master's command?" "What's this?" said the soldier. "What an amusing tinder box. If I can wish for whatever I want. Bring me some money," he said to the dog. And zip, he was gone. Zip, he was back, holding a big sack of skillings in his mouth. Now the soldier realized what a wonderful tinder box it was. If he stuck it once, the dog who sat on the chest of copper coins came. If he struck it twice, the one with the silver coins came. And if he struck it 3 times, the one with the gold came. Now the soldier moved back downstairs to the beautiful rooms, dressed in fine clothing, and all his friends recognized him again because they were so fond of him. One day he thought, how odd that no one is allowed to see the princess. Everyone says she's supposed to be so lovely. But what good is it if she's always kept inside that enormous copper palace with all the towers? Couldn't I possibly have a look at her? Where's my tinder box? And then he struck fire, and zip, the dog with eyes as big as teacups appeared. I know it's the middle of the night, said the soldier, but I have such a great desire to see the princess, if only for a moment. The dog was out the door at once, and before the soldier knew it, he was back with the princess. She was sitting on the dog's back, asleep, and she was so lovely that anyone could see she was a real princess. The soldier couldn't resist. He had to kiss her, because he was a real soldier. Then the dog ran back with the princess. But when morning came and the king and queen were pouring their tea, the princess said that he'd had a strange dream in the night about a dog and a soldier. She was riding on the dog's back, and the soldier had kissed her. That's certainly a fine story, said the queen. One of the old ladies in waiting was then ordered to keep watch at the bedside of the princess on the following night, to see if it was really a dream or what else it might be. The soldier was longing terribly to see the lovely princess once more. So the dog appeared in the night, picked her up, and ran as fast as he could. But the old lady in waiting put on her wading boots and ran just as swiftly right behind. When she saw them disappear inside a large building, she thought to herself, now I know where it is. And with a piece of chalk, she drew a big cross on the door. Then she returned home and went to bed, and the dog came back too, bringing the princess. But when he saw that a cross had been drawn on the door where the soldier lived, he took another piece of chalk and put a cross on all the doors in the whole city. That was a clever thing to do, because now the lady in waiting wouldn't be able to find the right door, since there were crosses on all of them. Early the next morning, the king and queen, the old lady in waiting, and all the officers went out to see where the princess had been. "There it is," said the king when he saw the first door with a cross on it. "No, it's over there, my dear husband," said the queen, who saw another door with a cross on it. "But there's one there, and one there," they all said. Wherever they looked, there was a cross on every door. And they realized it was no use to go on searching. But the queen was a very clever woman who was capable of more than just riding around in a coach. She took her big golden scissors, cut a large piece of silk into pieces, and then stitched together a charming little pouch, which she filled with fine grains of buckwheat. She tied it to the back of the princess, and when that was done, she cut a tiny hole in the pouch so the grains would sprinkle out wherever the princess went. That night, the dog appeared once again, put the princess on his back, and ran off with her to the soldier, who loved her so much and wanted dearly to be a prince so that he could make her his wife. The dog didn't notice the grain sprinkling out all the way from the palace to the soldier's window as he ran along the wall, carrying the princess. In the morning, the king and queen could see quite well where their daughter had been, and they seized the soldier and threw him into jail. And there he sat. Oh, how dark and dreary it was. And then they told him, "Tomorrow you will hang." That was not a pleasant thing to hear, and he had left his tinder box behind at the inn. In the morning, he could see through the iron bars on the little window that people were hurrying to the outskirts of the city to watch him hang. He heard the drums and saw the marching soldiers. Everyone was in a great rush, including a shoemaker's apprentice wearing a leather apron and slippers. He was moving along at such a gallop that one of his slippers flew off and struck the wall right where the soldier was sitting, peering out through the iron bars. "Hey, shoemaker's apprentice, you don't have to be in such a rush," said the soldier. "Nothing's going to happen until I get there, but if you run over to the place where I was staying and bring me my tinder box, I'll give you 4 skillings, but you have to be quick about it." The shoemaker's apprentice wanted those 4 shillings, so he raced off to get the tinder box, brought it to the soldier, and, well, let's hear what happened. Outside the city, a huge gallows had been built, and around it stood the soldiers and many hundreds of thousands of people. The king and queen sat on a lovely throne right across from the judge and the entire council. The soldier was already standing on the ladder, but as they were about to put the rope around his neck, he said that before a sinner faced his punishment, he was always allowed one harmless request. He dearly wanted to smoke a pipe of tobacco. It would be the last pipe he had in this world. Now, that was not something the king could refuse, and so the soldier took out his tinder box and struck fire 1, 2, 3. And there stood all three dogs, the one with eyes as big as teacups, the one with eyes like mill wheels, and the one with eyes as big as the round tower. "Help me now, so I won't be hanged," said the soldier. And then the dogs rushed at the judge and the entire council, seizing one by the leg and one by the nose, and flinging them high into the air so they fell back down and were crushed to bits. "Not me," said the king. But the biggest dog seized both him and the queen and tossed them after all the others. Then the soldiers were afraid, and all the people shouted, "Little soldier, you shall be our king and wed the lovely princess." They put the soldier in the king's coach, and all three dogs danced before it, shouting, "Hurrah!" The boys whistled through their fingers, and the soldiers presented arms. The princess came out of the copper palace and became queen, and that certainly pleased her. The wedding celebration lasted for a week, and the dogs sat at the table too, making big eyes. The end. So the soldier was greedy and not even nice, and he got everything. And the princess was not sad over the parents passing, and she was just happy. That is the lesson of this story.